Hi VC, it's Aaron, Mitha Alamere. Today I'm doing a thread response to my great friend JC from the flip side. Now his thread was albums that were commercial failures, but they're great albums you absolutely love that commercially didn't do well. Now I'm going to focus on artists that actually had really big selling albums and then they put one out and it didn't sell very well. So I'm going to get started here with one of my all-time favorite records. Now, this artist started out in the late 80s. Their first album went 5 times platinum. Their second album went double platinum. It was even better. And then their third album didn't even go gold. Well, it might have went gold. I'm not sure. If it did, it barely went gold. And it's Subhuman Race from Skid Row. Now, their monstrous success they had with their first 2 albums was just, they were one of the biggest bands in the world at that time with huge hits like I Remember You and 18 in Life, and then the stuff from Slave to the Grind, all those great songs, Monkey Business. And then they put this album out, and this is actually my favorite Skid Row album. It's darker, it's heavier, it punches you in the face. And I just love every song on it. And, starting with My Enemy, it's a really odd song to start the album, and maybe that has something to do with it. It was actually the first single, too, an odd first single. But it's a great song. But the album just builds and builds and gets better as it goes. So you get Fireside and Bonehead, Beat Yourself Blind, one of the best Skid Row songs ever. Then you get Eileen with that killer breakdown at the end. Oh my God, I love Eileen. Remains to Be Seen and Subhuman Race are so heavy. And then the really cool Frozen, oh my God. The other single was Into Another. That was a really good song. I love Into Another. Very catchy, almost reminiscent of the first 2 albums. The rest of this album is really heavy, except for the song Breaking Down, which is a ballad, the coolest ballad they ever did. Not my favorite, but it's very unique, and I love it. But this album is so heavy and so good. I think it's an absolute masterpiece of a record, and it just didn't sell like the other 2 albums. Very, very low sales, and then they kind of disbanded after this and reformed different members, but this album here commercially just didn't do it like the first 2 albums. So there's my first one. The next one is from David Lee Roth. Now he had a string of big popular albums, starting Eat 'em and Smile, and then Skyscraper, A Little Ain't Enough, and then he put out Your Filthy Little Mouth, and this hardly sold at all. And what a great album. It's very eclectic. It's almost like a Chris Profi record. If you can think of Chris Profi and his eclectic nature of what he likes, this has got everything on it. It's got a reggae song. It's got the rockin' songs. It's got, slower songs that Dave does so well. It's, it's just a phenomenal song. It's even got a country song with Travis Tritt. Love this album, and it just didn't sell. And, even my friends that were into David Lee Roth, I think I was the only one that had this at the time when it came out. I bought it when it came out. I've always loved it, and I think this is a fantastic record, but it didn't have the commercial success that his other ones did. Now, my third one here, I'm going to do 6 actually instead of 3. Now, my third one here is by a very popular band from the 80s. They started out almost punk, then went metal, then went glam. They were in the first wave of the glam rock artists in the 80s, and it's MLE Crew. So their album just kept building in popularity until they got to Dr. Feelgood, which went 5 or 6 times platinum in the US, and then they put out this album in 1994 with John Corabi on vocals, and I think this is one of their top 3 albums they ever did. It's just an amazing record, but it only went gold, and they were, instead of doing headlining arenas, they were selling, just playing small places and barely even selling those out, playing to hardly anybody. And after this fantastic record with Hooligan's Holiday and Misunderstood, those were the 2 singles. Now, they really could have put out a couple more singles off this. It would have been cool. Smoke the Sky is one of the heaviest MLE Crew songs ever. This is they went from almost being a party band to a more serious band on this. That might have been what it was. Just a very good record, and just didn't do well commercially, and it's too bad because that record is so great. Now, next up is another one of the glam bands from the 80s, and their first 2 records went triple platinum. Their third record went platinum, and then this one didn't even go gold, and it's still climbing, from Cinderella. I know Chris Profi, I'll mention him again, is a huge fan. A lot of people love Cinderella. Josh is a huge fan of them. And this album here is actually better than Long Cold Winter, even though that was a triple platinum record. love that one too. But this has got, you know, Hot and Bothered is such a good song. The title song, Bad Attitude Shuffle, is really good. Blood from a Stone. This is a very underrated Cinderella record. Their 4th album just didn't sell. So there we go. There's my 4th. Number 5. Now this band didn't get huge, but their 2nd record went gold. They had a top, their single from that went to number 12 on the Billboard mainstream charts. And then they put out the album Water, Saigon Kick. And Water, their sales dropped dramatically from The Lizard, which went gold. And the record company dropped them after this, even though this might even be a superior record. They do a great version of Space Oddity from David Bowie, of course. But this is a very eclectic record. Again, just awesome. Heavy stuff, psychedelic, rockin' stuff, ballads, everything you want on an album. Fantastic record, one of the all-time greats, and it didn't sell very well at all. And I'm going to finish off with one of my favorite artists of all time. Now, all his albums did very well, his first 5 studio albums. Or let me see, it's Dio. So the first album, Holy Diver, then you got Last in Line, then you had the Intermission, the EP, but I won't count that. Then you had, Sacred Heart and Dream Evil. Those 4 did very well. And then he put out Lock Up the Wolves with a slightly different lineup, different guitarist, different bass player. I think different keyboardists as well, if I remember right. But this album is just as good as those. I mean, I like this better than Sacred Heart. It falls right after Dream Evil for greatness of Dio records for me. It's just a phenomenal record. And he was going from selling out arenas, playing big arenas, to this album. And when I saw them, I went to go see him live during this album. And back then we went to a place called the Salt Palace in Salt Lake City. And we were going there thinking it was going to be in the arena. And it was just in a small room in the Salt Palace. But it turned out to be one of the best shows I ever saw because it was so intimate. But Dio, Lock Up the Wolves, just didn't sell like the other albums for some reason. He never really got that commercial success back that he had from the first few albums. But this is just a phenomenal album. You know, Evil on Queen Street is so good. Wild One was a video, really cool song. The title song's great. Between Two Hearts, phenomenal record from Dio. Lock Up the Wolves just wasn't a commercial success. So there we go. Everyone, jump on board this thread. I've seen 2 other great videos. You know, there's Josh's video, and then Chris Profi did a great response. And also, Steve from All the World of Stage just did a really cool response. All of them have been different, which is really cool. And I will leave links to all those videos down below. Everyone have a great day, and Josh, you rule, buddy.